Hello everyone, Nadeem here with PC.Solutions.Net. So today we are going to talk about ransomware protection for small to medium-sized business. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to go through it at a fairly fast pace. So first, let's talk about ransomware. What is ransomware? Anytime a bad person, a hacker, whatever have you, encrypts your data and asks you for money, that's a form of ransomware attack. So basically, you access somebody's system, you encrypt the data. Normally, people will encrypt the data and then ask you for a ransom. That's what ransomware is. And there's different types of ransomware, right? So there's crypto malware, there's locker ransomware. They all do the same thing, which is they hold your data hostage and they will release it after you pay the ransom. And these are automated methods. When a bad guy says that they've got your data hostage, they will release it after you pay X amount of money. It's all an automated process. So it's not guaranteed that you're going to get the data back. And even if you do get the data back, even if you do get the data decrypted, most times the bad guys will exfiltrate the data, so they will make a copy of the data somewhere else, and because they want to maximize their investment, so they're going to sell this data down the line to somebody else. Basically, it's maximizing their profitability. There's been a lot of recent ransomware attacks, and that's why I wanted to touch on this. I know we've all heard about the pipeline attack. There's been MSPs. Actually, there was an MSP in Houston that got attacked by ransomware. And then there's been MSPs whose customers got attacked by ransomware. So the first thing that we want to do is we need to evaluate vulnerabilities. And the way we evaluate vulnerabilities is by conducting a risk assessment. So this is something that you should be doing on a cadence. Security is layers, and then to each step in that layer, that there is a cadence to the items in each layer. Same thing with risk assessment. You want to do it over and over. Most companies do it at least once a year, but depending on the industry you're in, it might be more. Basically, you're identifying the risks and potential entry points for ransomware. You want to follow some of the best practices. So improving cybersecurity hygiene, for example, things like strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, software updates. You want to have good security practices. Again, each one of these things, it's on a cadence. For example, if you have strong password requirement expirations, if you have software updates, you want to do these things on a cadence. You can't it's not a one-time set it and done. It's over and over. Develop your hygiene practice. The other thing that you want to focus on is make sure that all your users, employees, are getting training and awareness. Again, this is not a one and done. You got to do it. For example, internally, we do this every month, even though we work in security, a lot of us, like our entire SOC, but we still have to go through training and awareness. It's the little things we take for granted that then later come and bite us. So we want to avoid that. So training and awareness, and then tracking of that training and awareness is very important. You want to have good backup strategies. So we talked about backup and disaster recovery. A lot of ransomware attacks, people did not have to pay the ransom only if they had good regular backups. One thing that you can get around not having to pay a ransom is if you have a good backup. Of course, exfiltration of data is something that still will impact you, but you won't lose your data. At least you'll still have access to your data. So next thing is network segmentation and access controls. So you always want to segment out your network and restrict access for users based on their role. A person should have the least amount of privilege that they need to get their job done, right? I can't tell you how many times we find most companies do not enforce or implement this. You also want to implement robust security software, like you might have a security operation center or SOC service. You might have some antivirus software, endpoint protection, malware, or intrusion prevention systems. You want to make sure that these systems are in place, and of course, it's layered. It's not just one thing in place. Like you can't just put a firewall in place and call it done. You have to have firewalls, you have to have antivirus software, you have to have endpoint protection, you have intrusion prevention systems, you have all these layers. Because the idea behind layers is the bad guys are going to peel a few layers. They're not going to keep peeling it, right? So they're going to go to the easy target, which is your competitor, hopefully. So after robust security software, you want to make sure that you have a good incident response plan in place. Now, I'm not talking about in somebody's head. I'm talking about a written plan that everybody in the company knows about and they know the role they will play when there is an incident. You have to define who's going to be responsible for that incident plan. You have to exercise it. You have to rehearse it. The worst time that you can try to come up with an incident response plan is during an incident, and that's what we're trying to avoid here. Of course, we can't ignore the ransomware negotiation and payment considerations. Now, this you want to get professionals involved in. This is not something that you want to take on your own. And I've seen customers or prospects try to negotiate this on their own. And usually they end up making things worse. I have yet to see somebody try to negotiate ransomware attack, ransomware payment on their own and come out better than what the original demand was. Get the professionals involved in this. There are people out there. Your cybersecurity insurance provider can probably point you in the right direction. They may already have people on retainer who handle this kind of stuff. These guys are professionals. This is all they do all day long, and they're the ones who are going to be able to handle something like this in a much better way than you or I can. Even I don't do payment negotiation. So I'm not the person for payment negotiation. There are other people who that's all they do. That's what their role is. And these guys are really great at this kind of stuff. You also want to keep in mind what kind of compliance and regulatory requirements your company or industry might have, because some regulations intersect with ransomware prevention strategies. For example, if you have to comply with HIPAA or GDPR, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you take those into account. You want to have a good ransomware recovery procedure written down, and you want to make sure that you exercise it at least once a year. And then every time you exercise it, I can almost guarantee you're going to update it. We do this for so many different companies, and every time for every company, we always learn something new or improve something. It never fails. Update it. That plan should be always up to date. So don't lose that. Now, in the recovery procedure, you want to have your steps, your best practices, your decryption tools, if you have those in your recovery procedures, your legal considerations, your forensic analysis, all these things. Now, don't lose sight that your cyber insurance provider might have access to some of these roles that you're looking for. For example, if you have cyber insurance coverage, then they may be the ones who want to bring in their own forensic guys to do the forensic analysis. So keep that in mind. Don't try to remediate and end up destroying evidence, which then will prevent your cyber insurance provider from paying out. And then, of course, you want to continually be monitoring your systems and also performing updates. So continuous monitoring, threat intelligence updates, and adapting security measures to newer threats that come out. That is so important. We don't know what we don't know. If we don't know it, we don't know it. And the way we find out about it is by constant monitoring and updates. So that's how we stay ahead of stuff. Finally, I would say the last thing that I would do as far as ransomware protection is always emphasize collaboration and reporting. So encourage people to collaborate within the industry, within themselves, and report incidents to appropriate authorities. I know I've encountered businesses that say, oh yeah, it's not worth reporting to the FBI because they really don't do anything. We report it, nothing happens. But each one of us should do our part at least, and that is to report it. And if somebody else doesn't do anything, and we may not know, these organizations may be doing stuff that you don't know. They work on aggregates, so they may be doing stuff that we haven't even thought about, but we should do our part and report it and collaborate and let others know. In our industry, when an MSP, this last time there was a big breach and one of the MSPs got impacted, there was a lot of collaboration that happened because of that. Not only did other MSPs send resources to help this MSP, but this MSP was then able to share how they handled it, how they were able to survive it, what the ups and downs were, what management was feeling when this started out, and when they started getting that sinking feeling that you have to collaborate and report on this. So these are just some of the big steps that you need to take into account for ransomware protection. Again, just like anything dealing with security, it's a layered approach, and each layer has multiple items that need to be handled on a cadence. And that's the name of the game. So everybody have a great day, and be safe. Hopefully this will help you out. Make sure you have your written plans, your incident response plans, your ransomware plans in place. Thanks, everyone.